Albert Einstein quotes about life, happiness, materialism, simplicity, death. I have remained a simple fellow who asks nothing of the world, only my youth is gone, the enchanting youth that forever walks on air. I no longer need to take part in the competition of the big brains. Participating, in the process, has always seemed to me an awful type of slavery no less evil than the passion for money or power. I believe that a simple and unassuming manner of life is best for everyone, best both for the body and the mind. Compassionate people are geniuses in the art of living, more necessary to the dignity, security, and joy of humanity than the discoverers of knowledge. 100 times every day I remind myself that my inner and outer life depend on the labors of other men, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in the same measure as I received and am still receiving. The fear of death is the most unjustified of all fears, for there's no risk of accident for someone who's dead. I have firmly resolved to bite the dust, when my time comes, with a minimum of medical assistance, and up to then I will sin to my wicked heart's content. The old who have died live on in the young ones. Don't you feel this now in your bereavement, when you look at your children? Our death is not an end if we have lived on in our children and the younger generations. For they are us, our bodies are only wilted leaves on the tree of life. This life is not such that we ought to complain when it comes to an end for us or for a loved one, rather, we may look back in satisfaction when it has been bravely and honorably withstood. I am strongly drawn to a frugal life and am often oppressively aware that I am engrossing an undue amount of the labor of my fellow men. I am glad that you have given me the opportunity of expressing to you here my deep sense of gratitude as a man, as a good European, and as a Jew. I believe that whatever we do or live for has its causality. It is good, however, that we cannot see through to it. People like you and I, though mortal of course, like everyone else, do not grow old no matter how long we live. What I mean is that we never cease to stand like curious children before the great mystery into which we were born. I am satisfied with the mystery of the eternity of life and with the awareness and a glimpse of the marvelous structure of the existing world, together with the devoted striving to comprehend a portion, be it ever so tiny, of the reason that manifests itself in nature. I am happy at the thought that the worst worries are over for my parents. My mother died a week ago today in terrible agony. We are all completely exhausted. One feels in one's bones the significance of blood ties. One of the strongest motives that lead men to art and science is escape from everyday life with its painful crudity and hopeless dreariness, from the fetters of one's own ever-shifting desires. A finely tempered nature longs to escape from the personal life into the world of objective perception and thought. May they not forget to keep pure the great heritage that puts them ahead of the West, the artistic configuration of life, the simplicity and modesty of personal needs, and the purity and serenity of the Japanese soul. What depressed me most is, of course, the misfortune of my poor parents who have not had a happy moment for so many years. What further hurts deeply is that as an adult man, I have to look on without being able to do anything. The satisfaction of physical needs is indeed the indispensable precondition of a satisfactory existence, but in itself it is not enough. In order to be content, men must also have the possibility of developing their intellectual and artistic powers to whatever extent accords with their personal characteristics and abilities. I just read a wonderful paper by Leonard on the generation of cathode rays by ultraviolet light. Under the influence of this beautiful piece, I am filled with such happiness and joy that I absolutely must share some of it with you. Human beings can attain a worthy and harmonious life only if they are able to rid themselves, within the limits of human nature, of striving to fulfill wishes of the material kind. My mother and sister seem somewhat petty and Philistine to me, despite the sympathy I feel for them. It is interesting how gradually our life changes us in the very subtleties of our soul, so that even the closest of family ties dwindle into habitual friendship. Deep inside we no longer understand one another, and are incapable of actively empathizing with the other, or knowing what emotions move. On his cheerful father, he was content to observe without wishing for more. For a place to be born in, the house is pleasant enough, because on that occasion one makes no great aesthetic demands, instead one begins life screaming at one's dear ones, without bothering too much about reasons and circumstances. Live with purpose. Don't let people or things around you get you down. Death is a reality. Life ends definitely when the subject, by his actions, no longer affects his environment. He can no longer add an iota to the sum total of his experience. Sometimes the only thought that sustains me and is my only refuge from despair is that I have always done everything I could within my small power, and that year in, year out, I have never permitted myself any amusements or diversions except those afforded by my studies. I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially. I have done my share, it is time to go. I will do it elegantly. Life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving.